painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking. KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Artbeat. Artbeat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Artbeat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Today on Artbeat, we take you back to the 2024 iDMAa Conference and Exhibition, which ran from June 27th to June 30th, 2024 on the campus of Winona State University. iDMAa, or the International Digital Media and Arts Association, was founded in 2004 by a collection of 15 universities under the goal of talking about and communicating new ideas and developments on various types of digital arts, digital medias, and creative academias. The conference and exhibition is a chance for the members of this organization to showcase their newest projects, what they've been researching, and new developments in digital media and digital arts. This year's conference and exhibition focuses on the theme of wild media. This week on Artbeat, we sit down with Davin Heckman, a professor in the Mass Communications Department at Winona State University, about his topic, Taming the Wilderness of Human Expression, from Media Ecology to Media Economy. I'm Abby Hockey, inviting you to join me as we talk with Davin Heckman on Artbeat. I'm Abby Hockey, and we are here with Davin Heckman. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Well, that's awesome. Just a couple quick questions for you about your topic, and let's get into it. First of all, would you explain to us what you define media ecology and media economy to be?
Okay, so media ecology is kind of a widely used term in media studies, and it's the idea that media messages, technologies, our behaviors, right, exist in sort of inside of a system of which sort of media is a larger landscape. So rather than thinking about particular actions or innovations, events, behaviors as sort of individual one-offs, we think of them as interrelated, as part of a network of behaviors, and so that medias develop, or a medium would develop under the pressures of other media. So you think about things like when you open up your computer and you see the save button and it looks like a diskette, is what the icon looks like, or the recycle bin, right, represents a trash can or something like that, right? So, or a file folder, or cutting and pasting, it uses these icons that are carryovers from older media regimes. And so we think about media as constantly being influenced by the other technologies and tools and techniques, desires, practices that we employ. Now, media economy is a term that I kind of am trying to push, and the reason for this is that if you look at that word ecology, right, the Greek root for it is oikos, means like dwelling, and logos is our word for, sometimes people use it as the word or reason, kind of law, but usually it's described as sort of the natural order of things, or a kind of transcendental truth. So our word logic, things that are can be figured or reckoned through pure reason. The word nomos, on the other hand, also describes law, but that's sort of it gives us our words like naming something, right? It's law that's created through fiat or through diktat. So if you think about media as having an ecology, right, then it points to the idea that this is all a natural process. If you think about media as an economy, then you get to maybe emphasize the fact that a lot of this stuff is arbitrary, it's constructed, and it functions more like law in our lives, like human law, rather than simple natural facts. It's not like the sun coming up in the morning. Oh, that's the way it is. Rather, these are decisions that people make, invest and enforce. And so trying to think through how we think about media in the 21st century as AI ramps up, as computing becomes ubiquitous, as we start to lose sight of the difference between life in a state of like constant mediation, maybe putting on our meta goggles and living inside of technology or something like that. And our ability to think of a world, our lives as separate from that technology. So it's kind of a heuristic. It's a way of maybe thinking about things that might give us a little more agency as we think about our future.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And what sort of inspired you to study this topic and to do a talk about this?
Well, for a long time, I've been doing research on electronic literature, experimental writing with computers. And what's attracted me to that, right, is a world where we spend more and more of our time using these digital technologies. These technologies nudge us in different directions, cultivate in us certain behaviors, patterns of thinking, attitudes. And I think about literary practice, specifically poetics, as the process of human making that often involves sort of disrupting normal patterns of language use, right? So poetry takes the language that we all use every day, but then extrapolates it into the exploration of new metaphors to create new experiences. It tries always to do impossible things, to express inexpressible things using the current language, and therefore poetry is often thought of as the place where we expand language. Now, when I think about what digital art could be, right, it could be a place where either it becomes like a design field where we just habituate everyday people into the patterns of the contemporary world and the demands of business and governments and that sort of thing. It becomes a propaganda tool. Or we think about art as a place where we explore our possibilities, our limits, beyond the instrumental sort of normative, sort of manipulative aspects of digital media that increasingly is coming to dominate our lives.
Yeah. And then next question I have is actually about the name of your talk itself. You use the words "taming the wilderness of human expression." Do you believe that there are certain medias which are negatively affecting our abilities to express ourselves, or do you believe that these medias are just changing our ways of human expression?
Well, I think in general, right, this is the impulse to sort of digitize everything and make everything machine readable so that all kinds of behaviors, right, can be captured as data. And then that data can be studied and modeled to create projections, and that those projections can be used to alter behaviors in the future, right? There I see a place where there is an attempt to tame human communication. In the past, this would be done through formal training processes. You'd teach people how to talk, how to behave, how to follow certain manners, adopt certain professional norms. But in the terrain of everyday life where, if you listen to people talk on the street, it's very, very exciting, right? It's divergent. It sprawls all over the place. New words get made up all the time. But in the digital world, where we put our everyday language on all these social platforms, and we're encouraged to constantly prompted to enter our everyday experience into these spaces. What it's doing there is turning those things into data points that can be then interpreted by machines to gauge our sentiments, to decide how we feel, to make decisions about what to market to us, what our psychological or social needs are. And everywhere we look, right, we're trying to make everything into a form of data. And the interesting thing is that, digital impulse, right, we don't see data as representation, but it is a kind of representation. But it presumes to be a measure of the world as it is. And I think when you turn everything into a data point, it's tempting to believe that provides a complete picture of human experience. But I don't know that it can or it does. I mean, you can look around and see, are people happy I don't know. Are those things related to each other? I might be totally off the mark here, but I think that some of it has to do with the fact that people feel increasingly enclosed and feel like they have fewer options and fewer occasions to express their desires, their freedom, their creativity, and as a consequence, there's this very deep sense of frustration, maybe even dread. There are other factors there too, but then there's everything. The world is getting more efficient, and you're maladjusted or you're ill if you don't like it, right? Mm-hmm. There's therapy for that. So
yeah. How intentional do you think we will be about how we interact with technology in the future?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would hope extremely so, but so much of this stuff is just so casual. It's just given, and it's always been the case, right? Our tools are just an extension of us, and we're very adaptive creatures. So whatever we have in front of us, right, it becomes something to use. So I don't know. It's in our nature to forget that we're using a tool or are using a technology. On the other hand, right, we're at a point when if you look at a lot of new technologies, they get deployed, they happen at such a scale that there's no way that they can test the tool to make sure that we're good at using it. Instead, they roll it out and we become, the test subjects for the tool. So a platform comes out and then they're constantly debugging. A message goes out and then they constantly beta, the A/B test it. AI will play an increasing role, and every time there's a disaster, it'll be used as a kind of opportunity to correct it. And I think that at some point, it might not be so much that we're using our technologies intentionally but that we're essentially becoming sort of machine subroutines that do what a computer can't do. So Google uses your mobile data to map the flow of traffic, right? So they can improve their maps, but you are the actual sort of sensory tool that goes out into the world and tries to find a way around a traffic jam. And then Google, processes that information and it becomes Google's product. Mm-hmm. And so, at some level, right, we become the subroutine, we become the tool that's used by a larger order or a larger apparatus.
Yeah. When it comes to your speech and your talk itself, is there anything specific that you hope that those in attendance will take, or what do you hope that people do with this information?
I mean, my hope always, right, is that people will be thinking about, first of all, the question of how precious human culture is, mm-hmm. right? Because we tend to think of ourselves as maybe individuals with psychological needs or whatever, desires or something like that. Or maybe we think of ourselves as a community that, we positively or negatively impact each other. But we don't often, I think the idea that you or me as an individual exist as someone in history, right? That you're the product of, the hopes and dreams and efforts and energies of your ancestors, and that you might engage with this world in anticipation of future generations, so that we would see ourselves, see culture as a precious thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just something you stream to kill time. Your life is not about killing time. Your life is about participating in a very exciting world where the stakes are very high. So I guess I would like for people to think about this as a chance to really celebrate culture, to think about your place, and then maybe making affirmative steps towards, contributing to our shared legacy, which is this wonderful world that we inhabit, and all the things that we've done over time, good and bad.
Yeah. I guess what I'm taking from it a little bit is that you want us to, use media and technology in order to continue to not necessarily expand our culture, but to continue its I guess, I don't know if this is a word, but thrivability.
I mean, these are all good things to be thinking about, right? What is human flourishing? How do we contribute to that? And to think about that question, I mean, the hard thing is you look at these large systems and it can seem so daunting because how do you stand up against Alphabet, right? A billion-dollar company, they, monitor everything or whatever and try to regulate them. Good luck, right? They'll regulate you before you regulate them. But at the same time, we have to hold out hope that, in fact, our being here and our lives and our decisions and the small things that we do, that these things matter. And it can seem impossible, right? Maybe, even like a miracle or something like that. But if you think about the relationship between sort of poetry and instrumental language that I talked about earlier, people have always been trying to come up with rules and systems and organizations and orders, and people have always been finding weird ways to slip loose from that. And so, part of achieving impossible things is dreaming about impossible things. And so, yes, I mean, there's not going to be some kind of revolution or something where we go back to some pure state of existence. It's never going to be that case. But it's always possible for us to think about a kind of to speculate at something that's better, at something that's good. And I think that's a huge part of the process, right? That's how you at least continue to exist. I mean, it's where hope comes from, right?
Yeah.
And hope is what sustains people in all situations.
Yeah. What do you think people can do to contribute to technology without feeling like a cog in a machine, or, as the Smashing Pumpkins say, a rat in a cage?
I think about it a lot, and I think about, there's always going to be the temptation to be discouraged no matter what you do. I mean, it's always a kind of dispositional thing, especially if you're used to being discouraged. But I think people getting together, making stuff. I tell my students, you don't like what you see, go out there and make something. Don't wait for somebody to stream it to you. Don't ask some AI to generate the movie you wish you'd made. Just go out there and make that movie, or go bang on a bucket or something like that. It doesn't matter. We should be making music for each other, art for each other, and the smaller, the better, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work. And we all have that all the time, draw a stick figure, say something idiotic. It doesn't matter. It's everywhere. The opportunity is always present. But if you judge yourself based on the capacities of whatever Amazon or Netflix to tell a story to you, and you sit there and demolish hours upon hours upon hours of your life streaming content that you can't even remember the next day. What are you doing with your life?
Yep. Yeah. So basically, be more imperfect as media and technology tries to make things more and more perfect as possible.
Yeah, right. What is the saying? Become ungovernable or something like that, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you can take that, but I think make things weird, right?
Yeah.
Draw a mustache on a poster. You can black out somebody's tooth, right?
Yeah.
This is low-hanging fruit. Even little kids know how to do it.
Yeah.
Make a joke.
Yeah.
No, if that's, it's the thing is make stuff and connect with people.
Yep. Okay. I'm Abby Hockey once again, and I was here talking with Davin Heckman about his talk, Taming the Wilderness of Human Expression from Media Ecology to Media Economy. I want to thank you, Davin, for being here with us. And is there anything else you would like to add, or?
No, just thank you so much. And I really appreciate what you're doing. It's a great program. So
Yeah. Thanks again to Davin Heckman for joining us today on ArtBeat. To learn more about the International Digital Media and Arts Association or the iDMAa Conference and Exhibition, go to idmaa.org. For more conversations on art, tune into ArtBeat, Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. For podcasts of ArtBeat and other KQAL original programming, go to kqal.org. I'm Abby Hockey, and we've just heard from Davin Heckman on ArtBeat.
ArtBeat is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.